Hello, everybody, and welcome to Honey Badger Radio. My name is Brian. I'm here with Allison, and this is maintaining frame number 44. So we're like getting up to 50 now, 50 shows. Open up to your abusive wife or you're abusing her, where we're going to be looking at. I think I should probably give it a little bit of setup. Okay, so an MRA guy that I'm friends with on Facebook sent me, or he's messaged me, and he said, have you seen the new issue of Psychology Today? And then he told me about some articles that were in it, you know, about men, but this one in particular sort of stood out for him. Oh, there's an echo? Are you guys getting an echo? Let me see. People are saying that there's an echo. I'm not seeing this coming out in two channels. Are you guys getting an, I see somebody's, look, how do I sound? Do I sound okay? Too much feedback. What are you talking about?
What the heck?
It's just one person saying that. Maybe it's not. I'm not watching the stream at the same time or anything like that. So
okay, well, just I'm having.
okay,
I'm
well,
having...
if you guys are hearing something, yeah, some people are saying it sounds fine. Let me know if it sounds okay. I get one person is saying there's an echo, but nobody else. So
that might just be the dog.
Okay, so anyway, this guy, he was telling me that to go buy the new issue of Psychology Today, and I said, you know, is there a website? Because it would be better if we were able to display it on the website. And he told me that I just asked him, what's the name of the author and the name of the piece? And I looked it up, and the original, you know, essay, I guess, or piece was put up on the Good Men Project. So it's not, I didn't get it because it was a Good Men Project article. I did it because it was a Psychology Today thing. Because we've talked about not just Psychology Today as a website, but the whole let's say psychology industry and how they're sort of like, you know, well, their approach to dealing with men appears to be all wrong. So, and that's kind of like the norm, right? So anyway, this is going to be an article from the Good Men Project, but I only learned about it because it was on
Psychology Today. I think it's
is there a dog barking in the background on your end, Allison?
Well, there shouldn't be anymore, but he was barking. Hello, can you hear me? Oh my goodness, what the heck?
Allison's talking, but I can't hear her for some reason.
All right, what the heck is going on here?
It looks like it.
Okay, let me see. Oh boy, can you guys hear me in the internet?
Why can't
I'm there.
Say something.
I am saying something.
Okay, now I hear you. It's weird.
Okay.
Is there a dog barking in the background on your end?
Not anymore. He barked at. I couldn't see what he was barking at. It must have been a crow or the squirrel that lives across the street.
I see. Okay.
Yeah, he doesn't appreciate anything that could threaten, you know, I guess anything that looks like it could be potentially dominating the airspace of our house.
Yeah.
He's particularly keen to avoid that. Very insecure about, you know, the fly zone over our house for some reason. Yeah, just in particular squirrels and birds. But yeah, no, he's not barking anymore. Hopefully all the sound problems are resolved. That's very strange. I love how, you know, you don't do anything and then something new and weird happens anyway.
Well, I think it's like, on my end with you, I think I just had you turned down too low. I couldn't really hear it, but that was I just turned it up and it's fine. As far as the echoing goes, there's like one person that's saying it, but everyone else says it sounds fine. So we can carry on. So did you want to say something about the Good Man Project before I tell them the title and what we're going to be looking at?
Okay, so the Good Man Project was started by a man whose name escapes me at the moment, but I think he actually started it from a very genuine place, if a very a place of unexamined gynocentrism.
Yeah.
And the project was rapidly taken over by, I would say, feminists. And then he ended up being kicked out, or at least leaving. or resigning or something.
Mm-hmm.
And
They drove him away.
This is some deep lore, of the. This is prior to the existence of Honey Badger Radio.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's like the Good Man Project does have a history. Creator resigns.
Yeah, and they're again, they're pretty like
Tom Matlack.
Oh, Tom Matlack. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they're pretty revered, at least in the space of discussing men. They're definitely more, I guess, adored by the mainstream than like filthy animals like us. So, but of course, their approach is everything that men have to deal with is their fault, and they have to fix it. So today we're going to be looking at this article from the Good Man Project, but also Psychology Today, entitled "Why So Silent? Men's Fear of Partner Conflict May Lead to Withholding," written by one Avrum G. Weiss, PhD.
Okay, so if you want to know a little bit of the history, this is a feminist commentator on why I resigned from the from the Good Men Project. Oh, looks like his actual words are off the internet now. But this is from some feminist commentator. Last week, founder Matlack wrote several pieces which were highly critical of feminism. A series of highly publicized Twitter exchanges took place with a number of progressive women. Well-known progressive women. Tom seemed to harden his position, complaining of being attacked and pelted by angry feminists. All of this behavior reflects two things: men's genuine fear of being challenged and confronted, and the persistence of the stereotype as feminists as being aggressive, wrathful man-bashers. So when feminists engage in aggressive, wrathful man-bashing, the same things that if a man did to them, they would consider harassment and a borderline assault, even if it's just on the internet. When they do that, it's not that they're doing that. It's that you look at them doing that and you apply the archetype of them bashing men onto them. And that's the real problem.
Yep.
The painful thing about all of this, of course, is that no man is in any real physical danger on the internet or even in real life. From feminists. Women are regularly beaten and raped, even on college campuses, But I know of no instance where a man found himself a victim of violence for making a sexist remark in a feminist setting.
I thought that college campuses is where misogyny is born. I thought that's where it
it festers and grows to.
Yeah, that's where it festers and grows, right? That's where it, what do you call it? Where a ship tends to like dock,
Yeah. Male bashing doesn't literally happen. In other words, it's at least is not a result of arguments. At least not as a result of arguments over feminism. But that doesn't stop men from using, ingest, or know their own exaggerated fear of physical violence to make a subtle point about feminists. This is what's so freaking aggravating. They attacked this guy to the point where he resigned. If men attacked a woman to the point where she resigned from her online magazine, ain't nobody going to be saying, "Oh wow, at least she wasn't being beaten." I mean, could you imagine it?
I can imagine it, but it wouldn't fly. There'd be like lawsuits and arrests and torch mobs. It would be just unforgivable.
Yes. And yet, this is the excuse that they're making. And this guy was not, I don't remember, the thing that he horribly wrote was being a dude is a good thing. With so many men feeling they're being blamed for being men, Tom Matlack wants us to embrace manhood.
How dare he?
Yes. Yeah, so basically Tom Matlack, as the founder of a Good Men Project, at some point realized that that feminists are bashing masculinity, which is what they are doing. Like, they are literally doing it. And they are literally saying that they're doing it. The future is female. Femininity is obviously better than masculinity because masculinity causes rape culture and patriarchal oppression of women, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And there is no good thing about masculinity because we will not identify one single positive thing about masculinity that we associate with men in the same way we associate negative things. So they have been attacking it. I mean, they've almost got the APA to declare it a mental illness, to be masculine or to identify as a man.
Yep. I
mean, they're groping towards it. They're groping towards saying that men who are traditionally masculine cause their own mental health problems. Okay, that is groping towards declaring masculinity a health problem. So this guy founded the Good Men Project, realized at some point, holy crap, feminists really don't like men or masculinity, or at the very least, they're quite enjoying using men as a whipping post. But isn't it okay to be a dude? Well, no, it isn't. It isn't. And they all dogpiled on him to the point where he resigned. And of course, that's his fault. And they can't be held responsible for their behavior. Just give them all the power over society and never complain about what they do with it, because that would be misogyny. Okay, that is the history of the Good Men Project.
Well, thank you for that.
Well, so we expect some insanity, but it will be insanity that just sort of runs under the radar until it dumps its payload of absolute fuck all over your face. Okay, so that's
not my fetish.
That's not my fetish. Okay.
All right. So let's go ahead and take a look at the article entitled "Why So Silent? Men's Fear of Partner Conflict May Lead to Withholding." And here we have a picture of two parrots that are refusing to talk to each other. Get it? Because parrots talk.
Do you see how ironic? Do you see how freaking ironic, considering the history of the Good Men Project, that even this entire article is?
Yeah.
Well, let's find out why men withhold commentary about how women make them feel or feminists make them feel. Why would men ever do such a thing? Gosh darn it, aren't those men being so stubborn and silly?
Gosh, those men and their testosterone and their stoicism. All right. Men can be reluctant to speak up about their own needs and desires in relationships because they have been socialized to be emotionally self-reliant and to feel ashamed of needing anything from anyone, particularly from a woman. Because, those women, they're not good for anything. Research points to socialization as the primary cause, but it is likely not the sole cause. All right.
Okay, stop for a moment. There's another paragraph to this, what happened to Tom Latlack.
Oh, go ahead.
From this feminist. Yes. There's a conscious purpose to this kind of behavior. So there's a conscious purpose to Tom Matlack saying, hey, I feel like you're sort of abusing my identity and saying it's a bad thing. Isn't it good to be a dude? There's a conscious purpose to this start of behavior. Joking about getting pelted or putting on the football helmet sends a message to women in the classroom and online. Tone it down. Take care of the men and their feelings. Don't scare them off, because too much impassioned feminism is scary for guys. And as exasperating as it is, this kind of silencing language almost always works. Well, it certainly silenced you guys. It wasn't him that had to resign. It was all of you. Is that right?
Yeah.
Time and time again, I've seen it work to silence women in the classroom, or at least cause them to worry about how to phrase things just right so as to protect the guys and their feelings. Oh, God. When I read this, I'm starting to feel a lot of sympathy for guys who just say, fuck it, I'm non-binary now.
Yeah.
Because then they don't have to deal with any of this shit. Like, it just drops off the radar for them. And then women have to shut up. I'm non-binary. That puts me ahead of you in the progressive stack, cis woman.
Mm-hmm.
It's a key anti-feminist strategy.
Yeah, it is.
Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, I think that's the Achilles heel, is essentially positioning yourself in their progressive stack as a bigger victim. And, that's why we're now, going through all this stuff about, bathrooms and all that, because I mean, feminists paved the way, and they thought, well, this ought to teach the white, cis, heteronormative male patriarchy. And the thing is that all the men were like, well, I don't care. It's like, and the women were like, oh, somebody set my hair on fire and didn't tell me. And, so it's, I don't think it's the best way to go about this, but it is fun to watch.
Okay, well, let me put it this way. The best way to go about all of this, dealing with all of this, is to have done what we did, do the work.
Yeah.
But instead, they just doubled down and tripled down and quadrupled down on their bullshit.
Yep.
And now their bullshit is erupting in a gigantic bullshit volcano right in their face. And it was interesting because we went to this small city. It's a very small city. Like, you Americans, you're like, I live in, I don't know, Kansas City, and it's a small city. I'm like, oh, how many? 1 million. That's not a small city in Canada.
Yeah.
But anyway, I went to this really small city. There were 2 stores that had those social control stickers on them. You know what I mean? The ones social with all the colors.
Control?
And like the hash. Like the hash codes with all the colors and the black and all the rainbow and all the symbols.
Oh,
yeah, those things.
Okay.
The alphabet people.
Oh,
right?
I see. The G Mafia, like their banners.
Gang colors. They have their gang colors out, right?
Yeah, their gang colors, right?
So there's 2 stores with their gang colors
heraldry.
Out. Actually, more than that. Yeah. And we went into the one, and the guy behind the counter had these really crazy nails. Like, they were blue and orange, and they were press-on, very long. Otherwise, it looked like just a normal dude with a beard and everything.
Yeah.
And I was looking at this, and I was thinking, okay, wow, it's really freaking ugly. Also, it looks really awkward considering that you're somebody who has to enter a lot of stuff on a keyboard. But, sorry, if you're hearing that sound, it's my cat scratching.
Oh, it's all right.
Yeah, I hope it's not too loud. I don't know why they have to scratch right at this moment, but so I was looking at this and I was like, wow, that seems like it'd be really awkward considering you do a lot of your work as a cashier. But otherwise, I mean, I didn't even comment on it. It's like, who cares, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
right. It's just you were just taking note.
I'm just taking note. Like, for example, Jonathan wore black nails in like the 90s. And if you believe that people get shit for this kind of stuff now, that you don't. 100% you don't.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we lived through a time where if you had a neck tattoo, people would suspect you for smuggling drugs.
Yeah, or being a Satan worshiper. Yeah.
People would actively treat you like you're weird.
Yeah, and like now, if you don't have tattoos, you're the weirdo.
Yeah, and so, but you know what I'm talking about, Brian.
I do.
I think
was alive for that.
You were also slightly counterculture because you were goth, right?
Well, I had a club period where I had purple hair and an earring and a piercing in my tongue, and so yeah, I did that.
Didn't I get comments though at the time?
Well, maybe. I mean, if there were, I didn't know about it because the neighbor. So I lived in Chicago, and the neighborhood I lived in was like everybody looked like that. Like that was kind of normal. So
okay.
But if I guess if I went to, a more high end part of the city, I would get probably looks. Yeah, it depends on where you are, but
yeah, it does. So but if you lived through that, like that's when people would sometimes comment or act weird about it. Now they don't. Yeah. They don't care.
No.
Anyway, so he had these long nails, and then I went to another store with the gang colors up, and the person behind the cashier had these earrings with like giant books on them or something because it was a bookstore, and a dress. And I'm like looking at this, I'm like, and I'm thinking about both of them, and I'm like, this is pathetic. Like press-on nails and big hoopy earrings. If you're gonna do this, go big. Dress up like Louis the 14th. Or in like
nobody has the balls to do that.
Leather pants and like a pirate's blouse or something.
Yeah. Well,
or
when I would go to my back then I had a friend named Mario. He moved to California. He's still there for some fucking reason. But anyway, and he and I, and sometimes we'd have some other people come with. We'd go to this club called Neo. Yes, I know. It was way before the Matrix, but that was the name of it. And it was like this industrial goth, type club, and there were people wearing all kinds of, pirate gear down there, like with poofy shirts and, really long hair, and they do that weird dance that the goths do. So, yeah, I used to see that all the time. I was super used to it. So, there were,
yeah, no,
yeah.
so was I, because we were artists. We were in a really weird sort of community space.
Yeah.
But it's like, if you're gonna do this, why are you just doing this like petty anti shit? Go big. But no, like
Yeah.
go come in like a Scarlett O'Hara ball gown or something.
Yeah.
But anyway,
or just like
so
maybe some animal skins and just go caveman.
yeah, let me really push it, because nobody can say anything anymore.
Well, and they're likely not going to. Like I said,
yeah.
like where I'm at least where I was, it was pretty normal. So I don't think that we've regressed since then. I just think that people have become like back then. Even if someone were to say something, which almost never happened. I mean, literally at that club I was talking about, you'd get like tourists that would just show up there. They'd be like guys, from Mexico, and they'd be wearing their Mexican club gear, which is like cowboy hats and big belt buckles and like dress shirts. They didn't care. We weren't even thinking about that stuff back then. Now it's like,
nobody can just do their thing.
It's like
a statement.
People, yeah, it's trying to be a bigger statement than it can be, because we've already gone through that. We've already experienced it.
Yeah. Well, what I was thinking, looking at this, is there's nothing more that women can get. I mean, they got a whole schwack of ill-gotten gains from the civil rights movement.
Yeah.
From probably the gay lesbian movement. But what the heck are they going to get in terms of like sexual liberation from the gay and lesbian movement? All kinds of civil rights that honestly they really never took responsibility for from the civil rights movement. I mean, black men fought in a war to get their right to vote. Women didn't.
Yep.
So, and gay men were particularly stigmatized against to eventually get the right to express their sexuality. Women weren't really, not in the same way. And so they got all this stuff, but what can they get from the trans movement that they haven't already gotten? And I realized, I was watching women in the town, they haven't changed. They're still doing the same. They still have the same expression. They still wear the same clothes, if not a little bit more stilted and neutral. So they're basically doing what they've always done, and they've always been able to do, and nothing has changed for them. But the trans movement has made it so that the restrictions on men and their expression has relaxed. Of course, they can't be like, I'm a man. They have to say something like, I'm binary, to not get shit. But at the same time, it's like that's actually, the trans movement isn't going to do anything beneficial to women. It's only going to free men or the penis people from their restrictions.
Yeah.
And I was just thinking about that. And it's like, when I read stuff like this, what this feminist is saying, I can understand why there are men now just flooding into the trans community, not necessarily trans, but even just as non-binary, because they just don't want to deal with this shit. Like, who the hell wants to deal with this shit? Like, this level of vituperative, like vicious shaming and judgmentalism and denial of your right to speak. Okay, and then she continues. It's the key anti-feminist strategy, even if that isn't the actual intent of the men doing it. It forces women to become conscious caretakers of the male peers by subduing their own frustration and anger. Look at what's that guy's name? The one, or the woman's name? Who Drew Barrymore was bowing to.
Yeah.
Submitting to and putting her feelings first. Like, how long have men deal with shutting up and swallowing how they feel? Because otherwise they get a bunch of feminist harpies descending upon them and ripping them to shreds. And now all they have to do is slap on a dress and some hoopy earrings, and suddenly they can be heard?
Yeah, well, as long as they're saying the right things.
Well, no, because they can say, a non-binary man can say, I have more, my feelings of oppression are more important than yours to a woman. For the first time in this guy's life, just imagine it, first time in this guy's life, a woman has to shut up and listen.
Mm-hmm.
Like, imagine if you could push that button.
Yeah, I get it. I get it.
Shut up and listen. It forces women to become conscious caretakers of their male peers by subduing their own frustration and anger. So, and this is the thing, she's saying, I should be able to abuse you as a man, and you should suck it up. Because otherwise, I'm forced to accommodate your emotions. This is the fucking mentality that this guy was trying to get away from. It forces women to become conscious caretakers of the male peers by subduing their own frustration and anger. Could you imagine the reverse? Why should men not have to verbally abuse women? I mean, if we do, we have to be consciously aware of women's feelings, and that makes us subordinate to them. It reminds young women that they should strive to avoid being one of those angry feminists who literally scares men off and drives them away. Well, that's what you did.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, feminists. If you continue to scare men off, drive them away, and force them to commit suicide, well, you might find that you don't have many men working for you. And then you might also find that you end up competing with a group of women who don't do that. And I guess we will then find out which system reigns supreme. Yep. Okay, I'm sorry for the digression. I just wanted to point out that the Good Men Project, the founder expressed his feelings about how feminism affects him as a man, and a whole bunch of feminists swooped down, tore the shit out of him, and then he resigned. And now we have this article.
Yep.
Okay.
Shut up now. So if you guys want to send us a message, you can do it through Super Chat. You can do it through Rumble. I have the Rumble working again. And you can do it through Discord, or not Discord, through our website, feedthebadger.com/justthetip. If you do it that way, we prefer it the most because I know that YouTube takes a lot out, and I'm not really sure about Rumble, but I think our way is the way where the most money will get to us so that we can keep the Badger Cave running. So that is feedthebadger.com/justthetip.
You can also have a little bit more room to talk or to express yourself. Yeah, you can put in
more characters so you can send us a bigger message.
You can baffle us to a deeper degree.
Yep. And try to confuse us.
Yeah, although if you do send something really explicit, which has happened now, just beware that we might paraphrase.
Yeah, we might have to paraphrase. Okay, so back to the article. Another reason that men often silence themselves in relationships is the fear of conflict, and ultimately the fear of abandonment. Men are often not confident of their ability to resolve conflict with their partner, so they are afraid and hesitant to speak up about their needs in relationships because they worry that speaking up will make things worse, maybe even much worse. To be clear, women also fear abandonment, but they often focus on adult concerns such as the economics of divorce, as opposed to men's childish concerns. Men's fears of abandonment are often more emotional and primitive. Oh, okay. Ugh, me man, you woman.
Yeah,
Most
that's right.
men
so
are
when
raised...
when a woman is thinking about divorce, she's thinking about the economics, and how many lawyers that she has to contact to get just the right deal.
Yeah.
Whereas when men are thinking about a woman leaving, they're thinking about primitive things like emotions, like love, attachment.
Yeah. Most men are raised. Well, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I don't think that he realized what he just said there.
No, and there's definitely more meat on this bone. Most men are raised primarily by women, and partnering with a woman as an adult activates their earliest attachment insecurities. So apparently, all he's just generally saying that men treat their girlfriends like their mothers, and
Well, who
and
would be creating these insecurities?
yeah, yeah, that does happen, but that's not something you can talk about at this without being specific. And he's not. He's just saying most men. So apparently that's just a big number. The other thing is that have you considered the other reasons why a man might be afraid to speak up about their needs in relationships? Just to put it out there, number one, if she doesn't like what he's saying, she can use the state against him. She can divorce him, take his shit, take his kids. She can get him arrested. She can claim that she feels unsafe. Like there's all of these things that are weapons that women can use. I'm not saying that they're likely to use it. I'm saying they can use it. Another thing is women. So there's this like stereotype, I guess, but it's really like a straw man about men, which is that their encouragement to be like, you know, stoic and resistant and dominant and all that is stuff that other men do to them. But I think it's women that do it. And if a man doesn't assert himself, if a man does have fears and concerns, and they don't want to be in a situation where they're screwed or whatever, and they have, even if they have insecurities, which is normal because they're human beings, right? Women will resent them for that. They will believe that those men are weak. It's kind of like, you know, if a man says, you know, if you ask a couple and you say, would you be fine with being a stay-at-home dad if your wife, you know, did all the work and paid for everything? A lot of times men, because they want to, at the very least, appear, you know, progressive, they'll say, yeah, sure, I'll do that. And women will also say that, but when it actually happens, the women become resentful because they're like, well, he's just at home all day, you know, bending over at the waist, putting DVDs into DVD players to watch the kids, and you know, he can clean the house in an hour or whatever, and I have to go to work for 8 hours. So this is just like the things that men are concerned with. They, you know, it's so, and of course,
well, look at what happened to the founder of Good Men Project, Tom Matlack.
Yeah.
Feminism affects men like this. These are vulnerabilities that men have to feminism. Oh my God. It's on your talents.
Wait, you're breaking up a lot. You said, oh my God, but I didn't catch what you said after that.
Okay, yeah, I have to figure out what's going on with my internet. It goes up and down. It does anywhere. It might just be Discord, but who knows? We were going to try Zoom, but
mine is too, but it's not as bad. But I am watching my kilobytes, and there is like a rise and fall, but it's not. It doesn't drop all the way down like it used to.
Maybe it's not thoughts. Okay, so when I said, look at what happened on a Good Project, and then I was saying, like, he said, this is how men are vulnerable to feminism. And what did feminists do? Well, come on, ladies, let's sharpen our talons.
Yeah.
You know, then this is not an isolated case. Like Brian was saying, you know, when men express vulnerability, women don't like it.
Yes.
Because that means they have to make room for men, the man in their life as a person and not a utility. And a lot of women don't know how to do that.
Yeah.
I think it's one reason why when women pair up with other women, there's unbelievable levels of violence. Because women do not know how to allow their sexual partners to be human beings.
Yep.
Okay? And they take that baggage into relationships with other women, and it blows up in horrific ways, like really horrific ways. So they don't want to see vulnerability in their partner. And it gets even darker. There's a lot of women out there that if they see vulnerability in their partner, they attack it. Mm-hmm. And men know this. They've seen it. They've experienced it. They've lived it. So they're leery of it. And you see it all the time. And not just women get to attacking. They have all kinds of excuses for doing so.
Mm-hmm.
Like, just listened. I just described how this feminist basically justified attacking Tom Matlack and basically said him crying out in pain was actually damaging her, and that's what we should focus on.
Yep.
These women literally want a situation where they can beat someone. And if that person cries out in pain and says, "You're beating me," that is an attack on them. It's unbelievable.
Yep.
And this is the female advocacy movement. Until there isn't that female advocacy movement, I 100% understand why men are terrified of women's anger. And they just don't want to expose their vulnerabilities. Until women stand up and say that these women who want the ability to beat on other people, and then have those people, if those people say, "Hey, you're beating on me," to have everybody see that as the attack. And not just that, but when they beat up on someone and when someone cries out in pain and says, "Hey, you're beating up on me," that retroactively justifies the attack. Until that advocacy movement is gone, why should men feel like they can trust women? Huh? Like, let's just be rational here.
Yep.
This is the main voice of women in our society. And it says things like this. It wants to create a relationship like this between men and women. How can men trust women when this is who speaks for them?
Yep.
Okay.
All right, next paragraph. Men's fear of abandonment in relationships is perhaps most visible in the lengths that men will go to avoid conflict. Some men monitor their partner's emotional states constantly and carefully, scanning for signs of potential conflict, criticism, or disapproval. Men are socialized to believe that they are responsible for their partner's happiness, so any evidence that their partner is unhappy or dissatisfied is often interpreted by men as criticism or failure. Of their failure, that is. They immediately assume they have done something wrong, that they are in the doghouse, and will not return to favor until they figure out what they have done wrong and correct it. Reassurance from their wives that they are not in trouble is rarely sufficient for men to feel they are off the hook.
Okay, once again, biggest advocacy, most powerful advocacy group for women on the planet basically says this to men. You need to do what we want, but we shouldn't have to enact the emotional labor of explaining it.
Yep.
And we shouldn't and when you do what we want, not only should we not have to actually identify the fact that you have done what we wanted, doing so, you expecting us to even giving you feedback is entitlement. She has done some serious foundational work to make him realize that she is not like that. Why should he trust her?
Yeah. Also, so it seems to be that there's a criticism for men to, want to monitor their partner's states, scanning for conflict, criticism, or disapproval. They avoid conflict. But then if there is a man who doesn't avoid conflict and confronts it, he is also dangerous and scary, or in another way. So there's no winning. Men who, maybe they have a hard time dealing with arguments, or women just like fucking crying out of nowhere because they're moody, and then a man is like, "Well, what do I do?" And he doesn't know because she doesn't want it, and and all that. And then of course he is to blame somehow because she can't control her emotions. And then the opposite of that is true. If it's a man who's like, too confrontational, I guess, too forward, he could be scary. So what do men do? Why? Why is it their job to do that? Why can't a woman figure her shit out and then just come to the man what she needs? So, anyway.
Yeah, just keep going.
There's no winning. All right. To avoid women being angry with them, men willingly contort themselves to almost any extent. It is not uncommon for men to become so conflict avoidant in their intimate relationships that placating their partners becomes their raison d'etre, whatever. The most important thing in their relationship. The childhood mantra, if mama ain't happy, no one's happy, is replaced with happy wife, happy life. Men can become so unsettled by their partners being angry or disapproving of them that nothing else matters until it's fixed. All they want is for her to stop being mad at them. Okay? I don't see a problem there. Over time.
Well, I mean,
what?
I do see a problem.
No,
what
I'm
he's
saying,
describing is a controlling person. Like they.
Yeah.
So does he think that men just sort of get it? Like, well, first of all, where is the acknowledgement that this behavior is likely the result of a woman being controlling?
Yeah.
Okay. Or do you think men just fall into this and the woman is like, no, dear, I really understand. I really has demonstrated to him that she cares about him as a person, and he's like, no, I've got to tiptoe around you. Nobody does that.
Mm-hmm.
Are you kidding? If somebody's in a relationship with someone with good boundaries, who obviously cares about them as a person and steps up to the plate when they have problems, they don't act like this. Do they? Maybe ridiculous.
I don't think so.
This is a reaction to someone who behaves in this manner, who forces him to walk on eggshells, who forces him to constantly jump through hoops and try to do the game of how am I feeling today, and how what do you have to telepathically figure out to make me feel better? This is a reaction. This is a man who's behaving in reaction to abusive behavior. This isn't something that men do in a relationship with a woman who's decent.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
He probably learned it from experiences with his own mother, actually.
No doubt.
Yeah.
But if the woman is genuinely trying to take care of him, he should be able to pick that up.
For sure.
Okay, to avoid, or alternatively, if he is indeed responding to something in his childhood, is it really, again, that's something he needs to work on in the context of someone who's not going to make him take responsibility for things that happened to him as a kid. You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
I mean, you have to take responsibility for overcoming it, but at the same time, don't take responsibility for having happened to you. You know what I mean? Okay. Yeah. But the other thing I wanted to do is I want to read this really quick. Genders reversed. To avoid men being angry with them, women willingly contort themselves to almost any extent. It's not uncommon for women to become so conflict avoidant in their intimate relationships that placating their partners becomes their raison d'etre. I don't know how to say that. The reason for existing.
It's raison d'etre.
Raison d'etre. The most important thing in their relationship, the childhood mantra, if Papa ain't happy, no one's happy, is replaced with happy husband, happy life. Women can become so unsettled by their partners being angry or disapproving of him that nothing else matters until it's fixed. All they want is for him to stop being mad at them. Right there. That is the basis for feminist patriarchy theory.
Mm-hmm.
Did you see that?
Yeah.
That's the basis for explaining why women have no ability to take any responsibility in their life whatsoever, because men exude this miasma of violence that forces them to do shit. Yeah. And yet in this scenario, and we're not just talking about society, we're talking about a specific relationship. This dude can't be seen as being reacting to the woman. No. Mm-hmm. He just sort of fell into this behavior, almost by accident. Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I agree with that. I just want to clarify that when I said it makes sense, I'm saying that a man who finds himself in this situation, and this is the actions he's taking because he does want to avoid, I guess, getting in trouble. I think it's understandable if he doesn't think he can just walk away. So it's not like I think that there's a lot of men that put up with stuff like this. And I couldn't tell you why, but I know that they do.
Well, they put up with it because I think there's some instinct in men.
Yeah.
To take care of women. It sort of maybe rounds out the rough edges.
Yeah.
And then there's also situations like, I'm pretty sure, I know this sounds really weird, but I'm pretty sure Johnny Depp was with Amber Heard because she reminded him of his mother.
Yeah.
I know that sounds weird because she was like, what, 20 years younger than, no, yeah, quite a bit younger than him.
Yeah. Sure.
But that doesn't matter.
No, doesn't.
She reminded him, and it doesn't surprise me that when his mother died, he was like, you know what? She suddenly realized who Amber Heard was.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so I mean, it can be because they are repeating relationships with another woman like their mother, and they're trying to fix her, just accidental. I could be because they're constantly told in society that if there's something wrong with their woman, they need to, I don't know, up their man miasma game.
Yeah.
You know that whole thing, control your woman.
Yeah.
With
Yeah.
what,
I know.
sir?
I know. Tell me about it.
Oh yeah,
All right.
I know you have to get going. So let's.
Yeah, we're gonna have to keep going because I'm running out of time here. Over time. Oh wait. Before I do, I did get a big super chow, so I'm gonna read that. So Plain Dane, sorry, gives us $5. This is a super chow, and says, so true about being if you don't have tattoos. About 2 to 3 years ago, I was at my yearly checkup and I was asked the usual sex life, medications, and then I was asked if I had any tattoos. I replied with no, and she, the nurse, was surprised. She told me that she hasn't seen someone in their early 20s without tattoos. I replied, it's not my style, but I actually wanted to preach as to why I don't. I've done years of research on tattoos and learned that they are not healthy. It causes unnecessary stress on your immune system. That's why tattoos blur and fade. Sun damage also causes that, but it's mainly your own attacking the tattoo, so your body is attacking the tattoo. And that's why even if it's covered, most of the time it will still blur and fade. I also learned that tattoo ink isn't really regulated, and the artist's main concern is how the tattoo looks, not your health. Also, kidney disease is more common amongst tattoo artists. I'm not going to get into my philosophy on why I don't have any body modifications, maybe next time. Thank you, Plain Dane. I just, I did have piercings, and the reason why I got piercings was because I knew that when I was done with piercings, they would heal. So, like, all of my piercings have healed because I haven't had one in decades. And but tattoos, I didn't know all that. That's actually really interesting. I didn't know that about like the complications. But when you say it, it makes a lot of sense. So, but yeah, I never got any. There was like a time where I was like considering it. Like I was like, oh, what if I got But I never pulled the trigger on it. So anyway, thank you for the super chow. What was that?
I do have tattoos.
Yeah, I know. You have like a paw or something, right?
Yeah, a paw print on my neck. 2 paw prints on my neck.
Yeah.
And then something on my shoulder, but I never got anything really big.
Yeah.
I don't really like the head neck tattoo stuff usually.
Oh.
Like obviously I don't have a problem like a small amount, but
yeah.
I'm not so sure I like the whole suit.
I mean like my wife, Lindsay, she wants to get one because her like stepdad got sick during COVID. He got sick and passed away. Not from COVID, it was from something else. And unfortunately she wasn't able to go to the funeral because of all the lockdowns. So she was really upset by that, and then she started like thinking about getting a small tattoo of like something to do with scuba diving because that was like his favorite thing to do. So like, and I thought that was nice, but we haven't done that yet because we've had our own like run-ins with terrible luck like me going to the hospital and stuff. So but we're bouncing back, so I think that maybe I will revisit this.
Well, I got my little paw tattoos. It's it's a long story, but essentially they're commemorative too of a relative that died. I won't give any more detail because we have to finish. But
yeah,
so that's nice. So it's meaningful to me. So
yeah. So if any of you guys have any tattoos that are sort of like symbolic, hopefully not a girlfriend's name, share that information with us in the comment section. I'd be interested to see, or if you are planning to get one, and where and what it is. So, all right. Well, anyway, let's move on. Um, I ask if they ever talked to their partners about these problems when men talk about the aspects of their marriages in which they are unhappy. They look at me as if I were crazy because I don't understand how scared they are to talk to her. Yeah, you don't say. When men are willing to learn basic communication skills, they generally feel relieved. Being more emotionally open is not as difficult as they had feared. As a result, they feel much closer to their partner and grateful that there is less stress and conflict in their relationships.
This is
And
so
that's the end.
I'm going to tell you why this is so total bullshit.
Yeah.
What he's described, the reactions he's describing in these men indicate that they're abused. Now, I maybe they paired up with a woman who truly cares about them as an individual and is trying to support them in whatever way they can, and they're just stoically quiet about all this shit and just. I would say that is the tiny minority. Much more likely, the woman is actively abusing her if he's reacting in this way. I mean, could you imagine a reverse article describing, like, remember when I said this, I reversed the genders?
Yeah.
Can you imagine a psychologist doing a reverse article? Oh, yeah, you walk on eggshells around your husband. You don't want to speak to him out of fear of his anger. You know, what you need is basic communication skills, Susan. You should need to stop grunting at him like a monkey and start using English. You know, like, what?
Yeah.
Basic communication skills.
It's
sorry.
very condescending, isn't it?
It's incredibly condescending.
Yeah.
All right? And I have a serious doubt that this person has ever helped any man. First of all, what are those basic communication skills, sir? Could you list a few?
Yeah, really. Good luck with that.
Good luck with that. Okay? And have you addressed the fact that you are describing the fallout from an abusive relationship? If you have a person who in your life who's not abusive, you don't act like this. And eventually, over time, hopefully, the symptom of being in an abusive relationship will lessen. You'll start to feel like you're able to reveal yourself to the person. That's the other thing. Do the women have no obligation here? Let's say the guy is abused and they are a genuinely decent woman. Do they have no obligation to actually learn the skills to help somebody who's been abused feel secure? Like, no obligation there. I'm pretty sure that if it was the reverse and a man had a woman who was gun shy because she'd been in a previously abusive relationship with her father, that we wouldn't be saying, oh, well, she needs to learn communication skills. We'd probably be saying something like, she might take more time. I mean, I personally would say just leave because, there is no point having somebody. It's not worth it. There's no point having someone broken with a shotgun in your face. Like I'm sorry, ladies, but that's the way the cookie crumbles now legally. But regardless, if you did want to stay, you probably should learn how to help somebody who has these health issues, these post-abuse issues. Okay? All right?
Yeah.
That's not here. Once again, he's describing the fallout from men being in abusive relationships and saying, but, if you just learn to choose the right words, everything will be all right. Just remember, men, it's always on you.
Yep.
And again, either the man has been abused, so the woman is a normal woman, a non-abusive woman in a relationship with an abused man. Maybe she should figure out how to approach these topics without scaring the crap out of him. Put a little bit on her as opposed to the abuse victim. Not that he should be able to abuse her in return, but that maybe this is more of a mutual. There's no mutuality here. There's no suggestion that women do anything. It's all on the man, even though he is reacting to her abusive behavior or the abusive behavior of a woman in his past. So either he's reacting to a previous abusive woman or a current abusive woman, but either way, it's all on him. This is what's so ridiculous. They completely and clearly observe the situation for men who are abused. And then they come back with absolutely the worst advice.
Mm-hmm.
All based on their ideological focus, which is women react and men act. So we can't even see that it's a man acting to a woman's actions here. So we have to reframe it as, well, this is happening. You are responding to something that doesn't exist. You see, did you get that sense? The guy is responding to something that doesn't really exist. It's all in his head, right?
Yeah.
Women don't actually do these things, despite the horrific story of even the founder of the Good Men Project and the shit he had with a bunch of feminists descending on him. That doesn't happen. This man is reacting to something in his head. And if he would only learn basic communication skills, like being able to being able to use pronouns correctly instead of being like,
well, that's how it always starts. You got to know that. You got to know those pronouns.
Yeah,
that's like step one right there. I mean, if he can learn the two words in a sentence, he'll be able to communicate with his wife. If he learns a language other than grunting, he'll be able to communicate with his wife. And then this thing in his head that he's reacting to will go away. Yep.
Oh God.
Yep. It's the same old song and dance.
Yeah.
Men have needs. Well, what are you doing wrong? Like, you feeling sad? Well, like, why don't you do something about it? Or what are you doing to her to make you sad?
They don't even realize they're promoting stoicism. Okay, so this man is reacting to something, most likely an abusive woman, but he shouldn't expect her to be concerned about his vulnerabilities. Yep. He should simply man up and learn to communicate better. Learn to somehow communicate out of the fucked up psychological traps that abusers are classically able to deliver. And in like an unbelievable rate of speed too. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about, Brian. But when you're dealing with an abuser, they can just they every fucking sentence out of their mouth is a trap. So men should be able to navigate all of those traps and some kind of Houdini. But then also, if they do learn that skill, we can't say, well, men in general have that skill because they're expected to, because that would be misogyny.
Yeah.
So we have to hold men to higher expectations, but if they achieve them, we can't mention that. we can't be like, actually men are expected to do better, thus they are better, because that would be misogyny. I know I went in a little bit of a weird direction with that, but
that's okay. No, I get it. Well, I don't have any more super chats or super chows or rumble rants, so I guess we can wrap it up because I got to go pick up the wife. Speaking of partners.
All right. So if you would like to comment on anything that we've said or send us a tip after hours, if you're watching after hours, then you can do it at feedthebadger.com/justtip. It's very much appreciated. We will endeavor to respond to whatever you send on the next stream. So once again, that's feedthebadger.com/justtip. And thank you for joining us. Back to you, Brian.
Let us know your thoughts in the comments. So if you guys like this video, please hit the like button, subscribe if you're not already subscribed, hit the bell for notifications, leave us a comment. Like I said, let us know what you guys think about this article. You'll find a link to the article in the description. This author has done a couple of other pretty, I don't want to say great, but interesting articles. How essentially it's all, what men need to do so that they can be happy with women, regardless of the women.
What a surprise.
Yeah, exactly.
Men are always reacting to something in their head, and they always need to do something for women in order to resolve it.
Yes.
That's what I'm guessing is his particular formula.
So, yeah, maybe we'll do another one of his articles at some point. That one was kind of short. But leave us a comment. Let us know what you guys think. And please share this video because sharing is caring. Thank you guys so much for coming on today's episode of Maintaining Frame. And we will talk to you all in the next video.
Men's rights activists are machines. dude. Okay? They are literal machines. They are talking point machines. They are impossible to fucking deal with, especially if you have like a couple dudes who have good memory on top of that too. Holy shit, you're fucked.